Welcome back to FM Jeeping. Today we're going to be shaving an NP205. So you might be asking yourself, why would we go ahead and shave and cut a perfectly good NP205? Now the answer to that is that this big old chunk of metal right here, this part right here, actually interferes with the body on actually most rigs, and not just the XJ, but on most rigs, in that cutting this off, this 2 to 3 inches off, gives you 2 to 3 more inches of less, hang down below the belly. And I don't know about you, but I like having a flat belly, slides across rocks a lot easier. And once again, it gives us a little bit more clearance. It also cuts down just a little bit of weight, not much. So let's jump right into it. Now I'm going to attempt to start with a bandsaw. I got to set it up right now. It's set up for the stand. I got to get my handle and everything put on. Reason being is I want to try to get this nice and flush. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it with the bandsaw, but we're going to give it a shot, so hang tight. Alright, so slight change of plan. I was going to go ahead and use my bandsaw. My bandsaw is probably on the smaller side. I'm going to have to do all types of crazy manipulation to try to get this cut straight. So what I'm going to do is use a 7-inch cutting disc instead on the big old 7-inch cutting angle grinder. And the reason being is I want to try to get as much of a straight cut as possible, because it will eliminate how much leveling I have to do at the end. Now, one of the questions I asked before I started doing this was, how low do you cut? How do you know where to cut? Well, let me kind of answer that for you. The gear that you're looking for is no bigger than this hole. That's how tall the gear is going to be. So as long as you don't go really below this mounting surface here, you'll be fine. And obviously the lower you go, the more clocking room you have. However, you also don't want to weaken it, and that means just more welding, because you're going to have to cap this at the end. So I'm going to start with this line here, and I've marked it all the way across. I'm going to try to cut it as possible, flat as possible, and plate it with some 3/8 that I picked up the other day. So let's give this a shot. You might notice my shield here. Behind here is all my internals for this, so I want to try to keep the grind dust away. I'm still got to clean it, but the less I have to clean up, the better. So yeah, let's get on to it. Alright, so now we're all done cutting off this heavy piece of metal, nearly 6 pounds worth. Go ahead and make the plate to cover the hole we created. Just a side note too, if you have a better place to cut this thing, I would do it outside. It creates a ton of dust. That's why you saw me with that big metal pan next to the thing. I actually throw a magnet behind that to try to catch as much of it as possible. It did do some of the job, but not as good as it probably I would have liked. But once again, just make sure you're wearing your mask, make sure you're wearing your PPE, and cut responsibly. All right, so now we're on to making the plate. Now, it's kind of hard. This isn't a unique spot to try to get to trace. But instead, what we're going to do is take a piece of tape, and I'm just going to try a straight edge. We'll see how well this works. What's nice about this is you can kind of see where the edges. And you want to try to get as much of the edge as possible. Like, you want to, not ride the edge as much as possible. You want to be centered as possible. But this gives you, like, some visibility. So this is where I'm going to have to freehand this thing. So the reason I wanted to do it this way is I wanted to try to center my line in the middle of the existing casting. So I had something that the plate can sit on top of, as well as something for me to weld to. If I put it too far to one side, it could burn through or won't adhere or penetrate very well. But if it's in the middle of the casting, I have a way more heat I can put into it, make sure that plate sits nice and flat and never leaks. Alright, so I got the fitment pretty good, pretty much all the way around. I didn't want to knock it down too much more because I might start cutting into the meat that I'm welding into. But yeah, so far so good. I'm happy with this. The plate is solid on there. I'm going to go get the acetylene torch, heat it up, get it up to 400, and I'm going to stitch it in a few areas just to kind of test the settings and everything, make sure we're good. And then if everything goes well, we'll bring the temperature down, make sure there's no cracking. We'll heat it back up, and then we'll finish it out. That way, it's kind of like a pressure test without going all in. If I have to grind it, if it cracks, I can grind it out, and we're good. So yeah, why don't we do that? Let's do that. Alright, so it's the next day. I put everything in a blanket, as you might have seen. I kind of fumbled with it for a little bit. So let's go ahead, peel the layers back, and see if this thing cracked. Some people have actually stated that they wrapped it so good and so thick that they came back almost 24 hours later and it was still warm. This is not. Oh, let me get my gloves on. Fiberglass blanket, itchy, itchy. All right, all in all, everything looks okay. My welds definitely could be better. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. I'm going to smooth it up so it kind of blends in a little bit better. You'll still be able to see the patch, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Got to fix my little oopsie. My cutting disc went a little rogue, so I'm going to have to maybe emery that out, smooth up this surface just a hair, clean out the inside of the case, clean out the outside of the case. We'll paint it. I'm not sure what color yet, but yeah, that is it in a nutshell. So I'm going to leave this here, and then on the next phase, Once I get this all prepped and painted, we'll do the assembly thing. So that's basically it. So that's where I'm going to conclude this video. I hope you guys got something out of it. Stay tuned for the next one, which will be the assembly once I get everything all painted. And catch you on the next one.